Today, we shall discuss unit number 10 of the MOOC on Social and Political Philosophy. I am Dr. Jahnabi Devi, Assistant Professor, Discipline of Political Science, Krishna Kanto Hondigoi, State Open University, Assam. And title of this unit is Secularism, its nature and Secularism in India. This unit is included in Module 10 of this MOOC course. And this unit is divided into 3 videos. In the previous video, we have discussed the concept of secularism in general and its features. This second video deals with the issues of secularism in Indian context. So learners, let's begin with the tenet of secularism in India. Indian secularism, as emphasized by the framers of the Indian Constitution, is unique in its approach as compared to the secularism in the Western countries. While in Western countries, secularism often denotes a strict separation between the religion and the state, Indian secularism takes a more inclusive approach. While analyzing secularism in India, we must refer to the historical background of India. All of us know that India's history is marked by an enriched tradition of religious diversity. Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Sikhism, Buddhism, and Jainism have coexisted in this place of the earth for centuries. While talking about the Indian approach towards secularism, we have to admit the role of the British rule in India. The British colonial period played a pivotal role in shaping modern India's religious identity and its approach towards secularism. British rule in India was accompanied by the development of a legal framework that categorized Indian people according to their religious communities and a divide and rule tactic that often resulted in communal tensions. The struggle for independence from the British colonialism saw a coalition of leaders and thinkers from various religious communities. But it was also marked by tension between these groups, which later manifested itself in the partition of India in the year 1947, leading to the creation of the Muslim-majority Pakistan. The partition of India itself remains a defining trauma in India's history, marking a movement when the country was divided along religious lines, resulting in massive violence, migration, and loss of life. The memory of partition deeply influences the political and social fabric of modern India. The question of how to deal with the religious identities and their place in the new Republic of India was critical for the framers of the Indian Constitution. Secularism in India recognizes the diversity of religions and seeks to maintain a neutrality towards all the religions, ensuring that no religion is favored over others. So, the concept of secularism in India is deeply intertwined with country's history, culture, and political structure, and it is essential for maintaining harmony in a multi-religious society. In this context, we cannot adopt the identical approach to analyze secularism in India and in Western countries. In simple terms, while discussing the tenet of Indian secularism, we can say that secularism in India means equal treatment of all the religions by the state, unlike the Western concept of secularism, which advocates separation of religion from the state. In India, there is no state official religion, and the Constitution has also prohibited special privilege to any particular religion. In India, secularism is a politically charged topic. Secularism in India is a concept that has often been at the heart of political discourse, especially in the context of nation's multi-religious, multi-ethnic, and pluralistic society. Secularism has been both a unifying as well as a divisive issue in Indian political arena. This dual nature of secularism is primarily due to the complex relationship between politics and religion. Despite its incorporation in the Constitution of India, secularism has been highly controversial and politically charged topic. Political parties, particularly those aligned with certain religious ideologies, have often used the term secularism either to criticize or justify their policies. In this context, we can refer to some political parties in India. For example, the Indian National Congress. The Indian National Congress, which led the freedom movement in India and from the first government in the post-independent period has traditionally positioned itself as a champion of secularism. For Congress, secularism was an ideological cornerstone associated with its commitment to a pluralistic and inclusive society. However, over the time, the Congress party has faced criticism from various quarters. Some critics argue that Congress sometimes favored minority groups, particularly religious minority groups, in a bid to consolidate its electoral support. Again, we can also refer to the Bharatiya Janata Party. The rise of Bharatiya Janata Party or BJP and its ideological parent, the RSS, Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, introduced a new dimension to secularism debate. The BJP is associated with Hindu nationalism or Hindutva. Critics have argued that BJP's rise to power has led to politicization of secularism. This political party has been accused of undermining the secular principles of the Indian Constitution through various policies, including those related to citizenship laws and religious freedom. One of the most controversial pieces of legislation in the recent year was the CA or Citizenship Amendment Act to non-Muslim refugees from neighboring countries. Critics argue that this act or the CAA, together with the National Register of Citizens, that is NRC, discriminates against Muslims and undermines the secular fabric of the Indian Constitution. The controversy surrounding these laws has ignited protest and deepened the political and religious divide in the country. Some other tenets of Indian secularism are: 7th Schedule of the Indian Constitution places religious institutions, charities and trusts into the concurrent list, which means that both central as well as state government can make their own laws about the religious institutions, charities and trusts. However, if the conflict occurs, the previous one will prevail over the latter. The role of the 7th Schedule is to provide a structure within which the government ensures that religious freedom is respected while still being able to intervene in matters that might require regulation for public welfare and social justice. The 7th Schedule in the Indian Constitution sets out a detailed framework for governance while intersecting with religion in ways that ensure a balance between the state's regulatory power and the protection of individual religious freedom and right. The division of legislative powers between the union and the state government and through these three schedules, that is union list, state list and concurrent list, basically ensures that both the central as well as state authorities can act in the way to promote justice, equality and secularism in religious matters. Another tenet of Indian secularism is that it is fundamentally different from the Western secularism. It doesn't focus only on church-state separation. The idea of interreligious equality is crucial to the Indian conception of secularism. India is home to diverse religious communities including Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Sikhism, Buddhism and Jainism, etc. The idea of interreligious equality is rooted in country's long history of religious coexistence and tolerance. This concept is integral to Indian Constitution, social fabric and cultural ethos. It ensures that all the religions are treated equally with respect and their followers are entitled to equal rights, freedom of practice and protection under the law. Religious equality in India is not just a legal principle. It is also deeply ingrained in the social and cultural fabric of the society. India's festivals, for example, are celebrated by the people from different faiths. In India, Diwali, Eid, Christmas, Guru Purab are observed not only by the members of their respective communities but also by the people from other religious faiths. And these demonstrate mutual respect and solidarity. Similarly, interfaith marriages, despite sometimes being controversial, represent a growing trend of religious integration, showcasing the breakdown of barriers between different communities. However, it is also to be mentioned that despite of constitutional guarantee of interreligious equality, India faces several challenges in realizing this ideal. Communal tensions, religiously motivated violence, and discrimination against the minority group, particularly Muslims and Dalits, continue to persist in certain parts of India. These challenges are often aggravated by the political and ideological forces that seek to create division along with religious lines. For example, in recent years, there have been concern about the marginalization of religious minority groups and the rise of religious intolerance, which threatens the secular ideal of the country. So learners, these are the tenets of Indian secularism. Now let's discuss some of the peculiar character of Indian secularism. Indian secularism took on a distinct form as a result of an interaction between what already existed in the society that had religious diversity and the idea that came from the West. It resulted in equal focus on intra-religious and inter-religious domination. Some of the distinctive characteristics of Indian secularism are religious pluralism and recognition of religion. Unlike the Western model of secularism, which often calls for the complete separation of the religion and the state, Indian secularism doesn't advocate for the marginalization or exclusion of religion from public life. Instead, it embraces the country's religious pluralism and seeks to manage it in a way that ensures all religions and religious communities have the freedom to practice their own faith without any kind of interference. This approach allows the state to acknowledge the importance of religion in people's life and in public life. And this creates a framework for religious communities to flourish within the larger national fabric. In India, secularism advocates coexistence of all the religions and ensures that not any particular religion dominates public life. For example, the state provides financial assistance to the religious institution, recognizes religious holidays, and even fund pilgrims. At the same time, the state also ensures that the rights of the individual to practice their own religion are not infringed upon by the actions of other communities or by the state itself. Another feature of Indian secularism is that it considers religion as a personal and a social identity. In India, religion often functions as both a personal belief system and a social identity. People don't merely practice religion as a private affair, but also engage in religiously defined social structures, rituals, and community life. This unique blend of personal and collective religious expression influences the way secularism operates. Indian secularism recognizes that religion plays a very important and integral role in the lives of individuals, shaping their values, social structure, and community dynamics. Secularism, therefore, cannot simply be about removing religion from public life. It must accommodate and respect religious practices and identities within the social and cultural framework. Another important feature of secularism in India is that state intervention in religious affairs. Indian secularism allows for state intervention in religious affairs when necessary to protect public order, ensure social justice, or uphold the rights of vulnerable groups. For instance, the state can intervene in religious practices if they harm the dignity and rights of the individuals. Examples of such interventions include the banning of practices like untouchability and child marriage. The state's role in regulating and reforming practices within religious communities reflects the understanding that religious freedom cannot come at the cost of social justice and human rights. Another distinctive character of Indian secularism is the role of religion in politics. Indian secularism also recognizes the complex relationship between the religion and politics. In many Western countries, secularism aims to keep religion and politics entirely separate. Whereas in India, religion plays a very important and significant role in shaping political identities and movement. This fact is evident in the presence of religion-based political parties and the influence of religious organizations in public life. However, despite the prominence of religion in politics, the Constitution mandates that the state should remain neutral in the matter of religion. Political parties and leaders may appeal to the religious sentiments, but the state itself must not align with any religion. Indian secularism does not prohibit the expression of religious identities in the political sphere, but seeks to prevent religious conflict and the use of religion for political gain. Secularism, therefore, becomes a mechanism to ensure that political processes are inclusive and represent of the diverse religious communities in the country. Another peculiar character of Indian secularism is the challenge of communalism. One of the most significant challenges to Indian secularism is communalism. Communalism basically means the use of religious identity for political and social mobilization, and this often resulted in violence and division in the society. Communalism has been a very persistent issue in India, particularly in the post-independence period. Periodic violence took place to two major communities, that is Hindu and Muslim. Indian secularism, therefore, must contend with the reality of religious tension and seek to build mechanism for conflict resolution and social harmony. The state's role in this context is to promote understanding, prevent violence, and ensure that the rights of all communities are respected and their rights are protected. Another distinctive character of Indian secularism is that Indian secularism not only opposes the oppression of Dalits and women within Hinduism, it also opposes the discrimination against women within Indian Islam and Christianity and the possible threats that a majority community might pose to the rights of the minority religious communities. Again, Indian secularism deals not only with the religious freedom of individual but also with the religious freedom of the minority communities. These are the peculiar features of Indian secularism. Learners, after discussing all these distinctive characters of Indian secularism, now let's have a look on the secular features of the Indian Constitution. The Indian Constitution inserted several secular features that ensure the separation of religion from the state and making India a secular country. The preamble to the Indian Constitution states that we, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the country. Though the term secular was not initially mentioned in the preamble, it was later incorporated by the 42nd Amendment in the year 1976. Yet the Constitution of India always maintained a secular nature. So, in India, it is not a mutual exclusion, rather it is a complex idea that allows the state to be distant from all the religions so that it can promote liberty, equality and social justice. The Constitution reinforces and reinvents forms of liberal individualism through Article 19, 26 and 28. The Constitution also upholds the principle of social justice without compromising on individual liberties. The constitutional commitment to caste-based affirmative action program shows how much ahead India was compared to the other countries. The question of secularism is not one of sentiments, but one of law. Through the fundamental rights, the question of secularism is not one of sentiments, but one of law. Through the fundamental rights, incorporated from Article 12 to 35 of the Constitution, secularism has been given a constitutional status. Right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, cultural and educational rights, and right to constitutional remedies are 6 fundamental rights through which efforts have been made to promote secular principles in the country. Secular attitude towards all the religions is secured by Constitution through Article 25 to 28, which particularly recognizes right to religious freedom. This article states that there shall be no state religion in India. The state will neither establish a religion or nor confer any special patronage upon any particular religion. It follows that the state will not compel any citizen to pay tax for the promotion or maintenance of any particular religion or religious institution, and it is mentioned under Article 27 of the Constitution. Again, the Constitution also mentions that no religious instruction shall be provided to any educational institution wholly provided by the state funds. Even though religious instruction is totally banned in the state-owned educational institution, but in other, denominational institutions, it is not fully prohibited, but it must not be imposed upon individuals of other religions without their consent. And this is mentioned under Article 28. In India, every person is guaranteed the freedom of conscience, freedom to profess, practice, and propagate his or her own religion. However, it is to be noted that this guarantee is available not only to the citizens of India, but to all the persons, including foreigners residing within the state. All these are the secular provisions incorporated in the Constitution of India. And the main objective of all these provisions is to realize the goals of secularism in a true sense. So, learners, in this video, we have analyzed various issues associated with the concept of secularism in India. We have discussed the tenet of secularism in India, then peculiar character or nature of secularism in India, and secular features of the Constitution of India. And from all these discussions, we can say that in India, secularism basically refers to the conception of a harmonious society where different religious communities coexist peacefully. India's commitment towards secularism, as enshrined in the Constitution itself, remains a guiding principle in promoting equality, justice, and mutual respect among its diverse religious communities. By upholding this principle, India continues to strive towards a society where people of all faiths can coexist peacefully and contribute towards country's vibrant cultural mosaic. Dear learners, in the next video, we shall discuss views of Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru regarding secularism and various challenges to secularism in India. Thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you.